So basically, if we learned how to feel the world intelligently, instead of like we do now, where we try to think it intelligently, then we would be a lot more comfortable than I think we actually are now, thinking everything. Because when thinking is really what framing is, or technology, and so when we try to think the world, we're trying to control the world, we're trying to develop a technique for manipulating the dead material substance of the world to do what we want it to do, what the mind wants it to do. So there's a dualism there that doesn't really line up with our experience. And I'll get to that in a minute because I just want to emphasize that I'm not saying that we all return to primal instinct and that the natural motivations of the children are perfectly beautiful all the time. I'm just saying that we can't. Someone who doesn't acknowledge that information arrives into and is created out of the universe as it passes through our nervous system, they can't distinguish between primal instinct and spiritual intuition. So, on the one hand, we have Freud, who was very materialistic and reductionistic, explaining all of religion as regression to the womb, which you can't really argue with that because then Freud just says, well, you're just rationalizing and repressing this emotional emptiness, the fact that you've been born and you can never go back into your mother's womb, so there's nothing you can do, so you're just freaking out and you have all this anxiety because you're regressing and you're trying to be infantile and you're not waking up to the laws of existence. And then you have Jung, who says that there's this other half, there's this spirituality that isn't reducible to the fact that you are a body and were born out of your mother's womb as a biological entity. It's saying that there is more than biology to existence, even more than mind to existence, than the ego, than this communicating entity right now that's trying to figure things out with people on the internet. There's more than that. Although this activity is a very novel activity, it's very full of creativity, conceptual creativity, emotional creativity, sometimes when we're lucky, when we really get to the point. But so we don't want to regress to primal instincts. We want to progress to spiritual intuition. And the point is science, the science that we have now of energy, our understanding of energy, of time, of what matter is or isn't, or how matter behaves. We can't say what matter is. We can talk about how matter behaves, but we're still using this word matter, right? Even though we don't know what it is. No, that's true. We know how it behaves. It's a pattern, a wave called matter. And what we know about it, about its behavior. So we don't know a fact, we know a trend, a habit of behavior. Don't know what it is, we know a habit. And every step of the way, it's always energy. So when the universe is beamed into my brain through my senses, and my brain spits out all this behavior, information doesn't just come into and out of my brain from the world. My brain plays an integral role in creating this world. So there's creation coming out of here, and creation coming in through here. And so it's all energy, and it's all connected, and there's no separation between a free mind and a determined world. Because every step of the way we're energy, and energy is always transforming through time, and time is this engine of change. And so we're moving always away from the past towards the future, and all the time we're directed by eternity, because eternity is that encompassing mystery that's just always outrunning the horizons of our sight, because it's God. Eternity is God. It's spirit. It's the transcendent. It's meaning, the isness of meaning that we can never reach. It's only eternity. Eternity is the meaning of everything. But we can never have it. We can only be directed by it. We can only display it. So, everything is eternal. Meaning, truth, goodness, beauty, love. These are eternal things because they're always before the mind or self or I that exists between the past and the future in this so-called now moment. But it's so-called now because what we really mean by now, when we say be here now and pay attention to what's right in front of you, we mean something that, if you think about it, has to be perfectly stationary, totally lacking change and creation. Because nothing can happen right now directly between the past and the future. It's this slice of time, this quanta of time where nothing is happening. That doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in our experience, and it doesn't exist in the world. When scientists and physicists talk about time, the smallest unit of time is like Planck's quanta or something like that, and it doesn't mean that that's the world's smallest unit of time. It means that's what we're going to use to measure time. It's the smallest bit we can think of to slice off of the future and the past, and that's what we're going to use in our experiments of the motion of matter through space. We're going to use this measurement. So it's not anything in the world that they found. It's an axiom, a mathematical construct. But we've never experienced that. The now that's happening, you say, right now, right here, we're in my own environment, pay attention to it, and that's how you achieve enlightenment. But no, why are we giving up our memory? And why are we giving up our ability to predict the future? Because we have that. That's what a mind does. The mind is this function of eternity that is spread out through time. So the now moment between the past and the future never happens. We've never experienced that, which leads us toward the idea that the ego, with its knowledge and its control over what happens now in this frozen moment, the ability to direct what's going to happen next, right? That's a fiction. It's a myth, and it's no less harmful as a myth than, or destructive as a myth, than the idea that God is up in heaven controlling the outcome of history. So we haven't really gotten past the Middle Ages and religion until we also get rid of this idea that there's a little man driving us around that can make moral decisions and behave in a selfish way. We don't know a self, so we can't be selfish. We can be taught to be selfish. We can be taught to think this model of selfhood that the culture provides for us, because that's what we know. That's how we're educated. We fight it constantly emotionally, but on the conceptual level, we think it's right. It's true, even though our bodies are telling us, the food that this idea creates is disgusting, and the emotional connections that it allows for between people are just non-existent, and so on and so forth, because we're always competing with everything. So this is a very harmful myth. And I think as atheists, we should be against the literalization of all myths, the reduction of all myths to this physical plane of existence right here and now. We should get rid of that, because it doesn't help us as spiritual beings in a relationship with eternity, trying to cope with the full range of human experience, from the lowest material existence to the emotive bodily existence to the conceptual mental existence and to the blissful spiritual existence. All of that is part of what's happening right now. So we can't ignore it all or reduce it all to one level, the material level. Because this ego myth, what it does is it separates you and me from the world, from each other, from everything we experience. It makes everything seem more like an input into a machine than a tap on the shoulder, a handshake, a hug, eye contact, all of these things that we can feel directly. The most meaningful experiences of our lives. This is an experience of eternity, and it's as natural as anything else is. So, to get back to the original issue here, which is what do we tell the kids? If we taught people to be selfless, then wouldn't they just behave in a way to make the teachers proud of them? Well, the point is the teacher and the student are no longer separate. So the teacher doesn't just teach them these new set of rules that are about being selfless. The selfless moral code is not a code at all. It's got to be spontaneous and natural, and it comes out of the realization that you are not separate from the other, from this. The self is not separate from the other. So you're always looking to compromise, to dance with, to relate to understand, to communicate with the other instead of to screw them over or to gain some upper hand or to manipulate them to do what you have already determined before you arrive face to face with them that you want them to do. That whole idea, that very business-like relationship has to change. We have to become more compassionate, or we're going to destroy each other, the planet, everything about what we're doing here and now. It's not going to last if we continue with the ego, selfish gene idea. We're going to go extinct.